Imagine what your fantasy football team could look like right now if you had already stashed high upside names like Isaiah Likely and J.K. Dobbins, who dominated in week 1. Instead of you having to fight people in the waiver wire, you would have already beaten the breakout. In today's video, that's exactly what we intend to do. I'm going to bring you more than 15 names that you can stash in fantasy football. If you have a small or large league, there'll be something for every single one of you. Let's start with guys that should already be rostered. Most of these guys were talked about in every waiver wire video, article, tweet, etc. So we won't spend too much time on them. But of course, you guys should know these names. You can pause if you want to look. The number one stash for me here heading into week number 2 is Adonai Mitchell, the rookie wide receiver for the Indianapolis Colts, wildly available in ESPN and Yahoo leagues. Guys, we were so close to a massive debut for Adonai Mitchell in week 1. Let's talk about it. He played 29 of 45 snaps, 64% snap rate. He ran 18 out of 24 possible routes, and he was targeted 5 times. Some really promising usage in his first game. And I'm going to show you right here some all-22 film. We're going to look at 3 of his targets out of 5 on Sunday. If 2 of these targets that I'm about to show you were accurate, he would have had 2 touchdowns and maybe 100+ yards. Big shout out to Mike Renner who tweeted this out. But let's have a little geese, shall we? You can see Adonai at the top of your screen here. This is his first target that we're talking about. Burns his opponent, but the ball isn't even close to being accurate. That's almost a touchdown there. The second target we're going to look at, a double move on his opponent, leaving this boy in a different area code entirely. Somebody give this kid a map because we are way past him, but unfortunately, the target is just not accurate. We were inches away from another touchdown, and this is the third target I wanted to show you. He beats his man again on a double route, but the target is well behind him. So we were so close to a huge debut for Adonai Mitchell. But here's what we know. He is an insane talent, day 2 pick, high commitment from this team in the NFL draft, and already in week 1, at least, he was one of the better separators in the NFL. If you look at man separation, according to Fantasy Points data, you can see he was second in man separation score, right behind Mike Evans, and he was second in zone separation score, right behind Jamison Williams. Look, we have seen Alec Pierce in the NFL for multiple years now. He's never made a big impact. I think eventually Adonai will absolutely overtake him as the wide receiver 2 on the outside and in 2 wide receiver sets. All right, the second player that you need to stash. This is the easiest stash. Guys, you could be stashing a league winner and nobody is talking about it right now. I'm trying to help you win your league with this one. Keaton Mitchell, all right? Available widely across leagues everywhere. ESPN, Sleeper, Yahoo, he's available everywhere. If you love Devon Achane, you should be in on Keaton Mitchell. Again, put him on your IR spot. You have another free spot to add someone to your bench. Last year, Keaton Mitchell was even more efficient and explosive than Devon Achane. Don't believe me? Well, in 2023, he was number 1 in yards per carry at 8.43. He was second in explosive run rate. He was second in missed tackles forced per attempt, and he was first in yards after contact per attempt. And of course, that is with a minimum of 25 rushing attempts. Now, we have to ask, will there be a role for Keaton Mitchell? Well, it certainly looks like there could be because Justice Hill currently has a role. Well, last year, we saw Keaton Mitchell playing ahead of Justice Hill, and the Ravens love to run the ball, and Keaton Mitchell was the most efficient runner in the NFL last year. And there is plenty of rushing attempts to go around. You can see 3 out of the last 5 years, the Ravens were number 1 in rushing attempts per game. Pick them up for free and still get a chance to pick up another name after you put them on your IR. All right, the third guy we're talking about here is Marshawn Lloyd. Super uber talented player out of USC, and opportunities could be on the way. We got a player with day 2 NFL draft capital. A.J. Dillon is out for the year. Emmanuel Wilson is just a guy, although he looked good in week 1. But this is going to be Marshawn Lloyd's role when he is back and healthy. And we know there will be a role because in the last 4 years, the running backs have split opportunities in this Packer backfield. That is the LaFleur way. Guys, imagine if Marshawn Lloyd, imagine if in week 1 he did what Emmanuel Wilson did. He had almost 7 PPR points and played just 24% of the snaps. We'd be talking about him as one of the waiver wire pickups. We'd be saying, I mean, with this guy's draft capital, with his talent, being a rookie, his role could grow. You got to get this guy in your roster. I'm telling you right now, he's got to be on every rosters. I mean, I've got him in plenty of rosters, just kind of sitting on my IR because he was out last week. All right, the number 4 player, a lot of you guys might have already picked him up off waivers, so you can skip this one if you want, but that is Jaleel McLaughlin. I got to be honest, I'm not the biggest McLaughlin guy, but I got to talk about him. And the reason being is because the Denver backfield is just really confusing. I'll be honest, it's impossible to project moving forward. In week 1, check this out. Javonte Williams, 220-pound running back, played most of the third down snaps and 2-minute drill. And then Jaleel McLaughlin, who's 187 pounds, played most of the early downs. Why? No one understands why, but the reality is Jaleel had more opportunities than Javonte in week 1, 15 to 10 opportunities. And if that trend continues, I mean, could we see him become the RB1 on this team? And I would say in deeper leagues, you should actually look at Audric Estime as a stash as well, because he had, a couple snaps in this one already. All right, the 5th player we're going to talk about here is Jalen Polk. The reason to stash Jalen Polk is Drake May. If you stash him and Drake May is a superstar, you will have won your league, okay? Now, the reality is, whenever Drake May is announced a starter, that could be in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we don't know. But when he's announced a starter, Jalen Polk will be the hottest waiver wire name in fantasy football, point blank, period. Why? Because there's an unknown, there's a young, special talent like Drake May who could change this entire franchise, okay? So we're trying to beat that news. We're trying to beat that breakout. And this team made a serious commitment to him in the NFL draft. They drafted him over Adonai Mitchell, Roman Wilson, Jalen McMillan, Jermaine Burton, and Troy Franklin. He was the 37th pick in the NFL draft. And we have seen wide receivers drafted in the 2nd and 3rd rounds make instant impacts as rookies. We've seen that in the last 5 years quite often. Now, here's what you need to know. In week 1, the Pats pretty much rotated every single wide receiver. You can see Jalen Polk had 35 snaps, not far off from any of the other top guys there. He ran 18 routes. Again, very close to the other names there. So already in week 1, he's getting some opportunities. I expect that to grow. I think he'll be a starter for this team sooner rather than later. And keep in mind, guys, they didn't need to throw the ball at all against the Bengals because the Bengals couldn't score a freaking touchdown to save their lives. Okay, we know that. The 6th name we're going to talk about is Jalen McMillan, available widely in every format. If you followed our Dynasty channel this offseason, you would know I'm obsessed with this guy as a prospect. I kept saying before the draft, he would be the steal of the NFL draft no matter where he goes, the steal of the draft, point blank, period, regardless of position. Here's the good news. He's already a starter for this team in 3 wide receiver sets. He played 83% of the snaps in week 1. That snap share might have something to do with the fact that they dominated the Commanders. However, we know that Trey Palmer is not even close to competing with Jalen McMillan. This is Jalen McMillan's job as the 3rd wide receiver. He got into the end zone week 1, but almost had 2 touchdowns. If he did, everyone would be talking about him as a waiver wire pickup. So why don't we pick him up now and see if his role continues to grow? The 7th name we're going to talk about here is Devon Vele. This is a deep, deep sleeper for anyone out there in larger leagues. He's available in a lot of formats. Yes, he's a 26-year-old rookie. However, in snaps and routes run, he was 3rd amongst wide receivers in his debut for this team. He had 8 targets as a 26-year-old rookie. That's insane. And he was targeted on 26% of his routes run. He had a 19% target share for this team. So the reality is we've got a guy like Josh Reynolds that he's competing with for targets, a guy in Josh Reynolds who's averaged 419 receiving yards per year in his career. That is not much competition to overcome. So, hey, if they figure their ish out, Devon Vele could be a nice little stash there. All right, at number 8, Xavier Legette. X gonna give it to you, XL if you will. This team traded up in the 1st round to get Xavier Legette. And this is a team that had no assets because they made the Bryce Young trade. They still traded up for Xavier Legette. They are obsessed with him. In his first game, he led the team in targets with 7. It should be noted that Deontay Johnson had a 33% target share before he left this game in the second half. He left because they were getting dominated. But 7 targets in a rookie debut is a very promising sign of things that could be on the way. Let's play good cop, bad cop. Good cop is 1st round pick, a team that needs a playmaker. Bad cop is, well, he's a part of maybe the worst offense in the NFL, but can they figure out things as they go this year? Maybe, maybe not. Again, that's why it's a stash. We're trying to find the needle in the haystack here. At number 9, let's talk about Luke McCaffrey. Yes, that is Christian McCaffrey's brother. After this team traded away Jahan Dotson, the big question was, who's the wide receiver 2 in Washington? As of today, I'm pretty happy in saying that it is Luke McCaffrey. He was second in snaps for wide receivers in week 1, and he had the second most routes run playing out of the slot. He could be a safety blanket for Jaden Daniels. The talent is there, obviously. He has NFL bloodline with his brother being Christian McCaffrey. He was the day 2 NFL draft pick. And I get it, Jaden Daniels didn't throw the ball a lot in his week 1 game. However, there's context behind that. Context being, he faced Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles likes to blitz more than anyone in the NFL. Daniels was top 5 in quarterback pressures, and he had the quickest time to throw in the NFL in week 1. So again, still should be a guy that you should stash in Luke McCaffrey. If Daniel starts to hit his stride and McCaffrey starts playing more and more snaps and gets more opportunities, he could be a true flex option. Okay, this next one is for anybody out there in super flex formats. I know it's tough to get that third quarterback on your team in drafts. So Michael Penix has to be rostered, especially after what we just saw from Kirk Cousins. Jameis Winston has to be rostered in super flex leagues, especially what we just saw from Deshaun Watson. He's got some legal issues that just popped up, all right? We're not going to dive into them, but it looks a little bit messy. And then Drew Lock should also be stashed in Superflex leagues. We have no idea how long Daniel Jones has a hold on that job. But look, if he keeps playing like your local Walmart grocery bagger, then he's probably not going to have the job for very long. And the last thing we're going to do today is talk about deep stashes. So if you guys are in those, 14-man leagues, deep benches, then think about Luke Schoonmaker, who could be the starting tight end for the Cowboys if Jake Ferguson misses time. I don't know that at the time of recording this. Mike Williams, who played just 9 snaps in week 1. I think Alan Lazard is fool's gold. I think Mike Williams will be the wide receiver 2 when he gets healthier and healthier. Kendre Miller, who, yes, is in the doghouse, but is a talented player. Tucker Kraft is a tight end 1 in Green Bay. Jalen Naylor might be the wide receiver 2 for this team while Addison is out. Ricky Pearsall, talented guy coming off that injury. And then Alec Pierce, who, yes, caught the touchdown from Anthony Richardson. So those are some stashes that you should pick up regardless of what format you're in. I hope I was able to help you. Do me a favor, smash that like button, subscribe if you like the content. And the last thing I'll say is if you have literally any start sit question, trade question, check out the pinned comment down below. We can help you on our Flock Fantasy website. Also, if you want weekly rankings, consider becoming a Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND on the Flock Fantasy website. You can check out that link in the description. Thank you for the support, guys, on the video. I appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next one. All love. Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, LAND, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.